So let's start with the division, work our way back to the Eagles because the division's fascinating right now. You got upheaval in Dallas because Jerry calling out Dak and Micah.
It's weird. It's just weird. Jerry, look, I love Jerry Jones. Like, he's been good for the business of pro football. Not necessarily for the Dallas Cowboys success, but he's been good for this business. But you just don't do that. Honestly, they all need to have an internship in Philadelphia to see how to do things and treat players. And, Micah's looking around the league and he's seeing Miles and Max and all these guys getting paid before their contracts are up. And they're like, why can't we do that? They did the same thing with CD. They did the same thing with Zach Martin. They're calling out Dak. All right, Dak has had injuries. At some point, you got to point the finger at yourself and go, we're not really figuring things out the way these other teams that are winning are figuring things out.
Yeah, listen, you say what you want about Dak, but the Cowboys were completely lost without him. They weren't a competent football team without him.
No.
So,
No, look, a reasonably healthy Dak. I know he missed games 2 years ago, but they had won 12 games in a row, right. 3 years in a row. That's not easy to do. Very few teams can accomplish that. They were able to do that. Now, you could say failures in the postseason. That's true. But Dak was a big part of that success with Mike McCarthy. And now, you got a new coach, a new way of doing things, and your star player isn't in camp and is holding his own press conferences, looking around the league going, why can't we do what other teams are doing right now? It's just the price of doing business.
Hey, so let's go from Dallas to Washington. You mentioned that they signed Von Miller. They have some issues with Terry McLaurin, right? They trade a lot of draft capital. They got older. Now they could be good, but unlike the Eagles who got younger, like on defense, I think they took a huge gamble, huge risk, almost pushing all their chips in with a lot of draft capital and cap.
Well, look, Deebo Samuel didn't look like he was a game breaker playing for the 49ers last year. They don't have Terry McLaurin signed. They did go out and get Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. They did draft a right tackle. They should upgrade their offensive line. I spent time with their offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, and he thinks that they've got real depth there, got some young players that people don't know about that can step in if they need to. They are bringing, Bobby Wagner back at middle linebacker in his, 14th year, whatever it is, whatever year Russell Wilson is, like he's a year younger than Russell. But, they do have some age. So we got to see, but they've got the quarterback, and that's what everybody's trying to get. And I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump. So,
yeah,
I like the general manager. I like the coach. They should be highly. I don't know if they win 14 games and go on the road and knock off the number 1 seed this year, but they should be a very competitive team. The Eagles have always had trouble with Terry McLaurin, always, since he came into this league, and his speed is real. So I do think they're going to get the deal done. It's just a question of, are they going to pay him what we just saw Cincinnati pay, elite receivers, and what CeeDee Lamb just got paid last year. So that's the question mark is, where is Terry McLaurin slotted after the year that he just had?
Giants, meanwhile, named Russ their starting quarterback.
Well, he's been named the starter for the 4th year in a row, 4 different teams, and he has not played anywhere near the level that he played at when they went to back-to-back Super Bowls. So how long, how long is the hook? If he doesn't get off to a good start, and they got a very difficult schedule, but if he struggles, like how soon? Because I believe Jackson Dart's going to be the backup and not Jameis Winston. So how soon do they go to the rookie if he does? And if he doesn't, great. They got him on a decent contract, but I think it's important to name the starter, just so that you can eliminate a lot of the controversy that goes on when you don't have that label. and name. So I don't have a problem with naming Russell. It's just at what level. I mean, they couldn't score 20 points a game the last 5 weeks of the season in Pittsburgh last year. So, how long, how patient are they going to be with Russell?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting to see if the kids how soon until the kid's ready. Meanwhile, yeah, you look at the Eagles, and everybody's signed, everybody's happy, everybody's on the same page. Look, it's back, get to work. We're not wearing our rings. We're not celebrating. We're going back to work. So it all feels good. And when you look at the roster, I mean, not a lot of holes, man. There's some questions in the youth and defense, but they look pretty good again.
They're the team to beat. They're the team to beat right now.
Yes.
They might not want that title, but the offensive line is the backbone to this whole team. They'll figure out the right guard spot with Mekhi Becton leaving. I'm not saying, but they've got 4 candidates. They're going to find one. They got Stoutland coaching them up. So they're going to find a good candidate. They're going to have depth on the offensive line. If guys do go down, they're going to have quality depth. Saquon comes back healthy. I don't know if 2,000 yards is reasonable to expect or to want, but he had a healthy offseason. He didn't have many of those in New York. They bring in A.J. Dillon, who's a 250-pound back. The tush push is back. The receiving core is back. Defensively, okay, they got some changes on the defensive line, but I think they've drafted well. And so that's going to be the cornerstone. And I think Jahad Campbell is going to get on the field next to Zach Bond. It's going to be an electric linebacking core. And so, Vic Fangio doesn't want to be anywhere else. He wants to retire literally as an Eagle coach. He's from Pennsylvania. His kids are there. He's not far from East Stroudsburg. This is where he wants to finish his career.
He did his news conference today with his Phillies hat on.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Philly guy now. I mean, this is where he's bounced around the league: Chicago, Denver, San Francisco, New Orleans. When I knew him as a linebacker coach there with the Dome Patrol, he's had a great run in this league. He got a shot as a head coach in Denver. It didn't work out. He's fine just being, literally he's like Jim Johnson. He's just this gruff guy that has literally no fear of any backlash from anybody. He's got support of the entire organization. You win a Super Bowl. This is the way we're doing things. We're not going to treat, he's still pissed about giving up 21 points in the second half of a Super Bowl game. That's who he is. And, that's, sometimes you earn gravitas through the years, through success. He's led the league as a defensive coordinator in takeaways twice in San Francisco and in Chicago. If you said to him right now, and I don't know if this was asked at the press conference, outside of winning another Super Bowl, he wants to lead the league in takeaways. That's what he wants to do.
Well, I tell you, what an advantage that Sirianni has. It's what Andy had. You mentioned with Jim Johnson, yes. And now with Spags. To have a guy that you don't have to worry about leaving, right? That's a big deal that controls that side of the ball. And,
Well, look at Dan Campbell in Detroit, cuz. Look, he loses Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn takes 2 coaches with defensive line coach. He takes 2 coaches with them. Yep. Now, you can say, okay, we filled the spots, but we won't know until you start going through the season.
You're spot on, man. Look, so let's compare and contrast the 2 Super Bowls, right? Coming in afterwards. So Doug comes in the following year. Again, he had his coordinators poached. And now you got, now Nick comes in. You have a new one with Kevin Patullo, but you still have Vic. You get the sense that we've been talking about this. Nick is kind of a grinder, right? He's wired to be a grinder. He's not a pedigree guy. Doug spent 14 years in the league, worked under Andy, right? Did a great job, but that the other guy's going to grind for you. And I think that's the difference between what happened with the Eagles under Doug and now what could happen with Sirianni.
Well, in addition, Carson went south, was injured and went south the next year, and so, you return a healthy Jalen Hurts here, coming off a Super Bowl MVP performance. That that's a big part of it. I mean, I know everybody's looked at, the succession of offense coordinators that Jalen's had every year since he was at Alabama, and he's had different guys. So he's used to this sort of turnover. And so, but he's familiar. And Petullo's been with Sirianni since the beginning. So he knows the offense. Now, can he be as good, as Kellen Moore was at calling plays and kind of rebuilding the offense after a rough start and cutting down on all the takeaways that they did and running the ball? I mean, we'll find that out, but I don't think it's going to be a big problem because of the familiarity that Petullo has with the entire organization and everybody on offense.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way, man. It really it's they're built to win. They're built to win again. So it's hard, but
it's hard. It's hard. Everybody's shooting for them. That's okay. Yeah. Like I think they have, you got Lane, you got Jalen, you got eight. I mean, you've got good leaders on that team. Zach Bond stepped in, was a leader right away. I think, these young kids, like, and Cooper and Quinion, like these kids, they're just different, and
yeah.
You can't call them young guys anymore. Like these guys came in and played like vets to begin with. They know what the standard is. You watch them practice. I don't think any of them are out there still celebrating the Super Bowl. I don't think they think that this thing is just magically happen every year. I think this is a group that wants to go to work and is willing to pay the price.